You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, just like any other time, we have another show for y'all. And today we're going to talk to Kelsey Pritchard. She is going to share us about some reaction that has happened in the news recently, but also she represents SBA Pro Life. First and foremost, I know you're busy, so thank you for taking time. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time. For more information, people can visit the website, sbaprolife.org, learn about all that your organization does, and I know you represent them today. So on behalf of the work that they do, let's talk about some of the recent news. We all know about recent events with DNC and Planned Parenthood's mobile clinic. If you can, for the audience, kind of educate on them. What was this project that they was doing right at the event center?
Yeah, so it was really kind of shocking to see at the Democrat National Convention this year, there was a bus parked outside of the DNC that was essentially an abortion bus. They were offering free abortions and free hot dogs for those who took them up on their offer. And, you know, they weren't only taking the lives of unborn children at the convention, but putting women at risk for severe complications like hemorrhaging, the need for emergency surgery, and even in some cases, death. And so, you know, they really showed disregard for the women as well. And it just unfortunately shows how extreme some of the Democrats have become on the issue of abortion, having that bus right out in front, and the way the party has embraced abortion without any limits whatsoever.
Do you believe that the Planned Parenthood's decision to offer free services in a mobile clinic near the DNC was a public stunt or a genuine attempt to provide health care?
You know, it seemed like a public stunt, and at the same time, it allowed them to further their goal to have more abortions. You know, the Democrats used to be the party of safe, legal, and rare, and now it's the party of abortion done by anyone, anytime, anywhere. They've become a shout your abortion party, and it's just really tragic to see that the way that played out at the convention last week, and you know, making it the deadliest DNC convention that we've ever seen.
When it comes to SBA Pro Life organization, what has been the reaction from the organization itself seeing this, and what is a plan to counter the narrative that a lot of people kind of target pro-lifers as far as being extremists? Yeah,
I would say we also saw the vandalism that happened at a pregnancy center there where the DNC was held nearby. We've seen a lot of that vandalism at these centers that help women with unexpected pregnancies. And these centers, you know, they provide free ultrasounds, free diapers, all sorts of free services before and after a child is born. And unfortunately, they've been targeted by vandals and by abortion activists. And to a certain extent, they've even been targeted by the Democrat Party, who have tried to censor them, tried to stop them from offering abortion pill reversal. And Kamala Harris has even said that she supports the efforts to shut down pregnancy centers, you know, really, honestly, eliminating women's choice in that effort and really only pushing abortion at every turn. So there's a lot at stake, really, this election. And our organization, we're in 8 battleground states. We're talking about the extremism of Kamala Harris, the extremism of the Democrats on abortion. We're having face-to-face conversations with voters. We've already visited 3 million homes in these states, and we're going to reach 1 million more between now and Election Day.
With the strategy of the mobile clinic, what is the new strategy for pro-life supporters like yourself and your organization, SBA, to counter their narrative that choices are not really given to women. But if you could, for the audience, what are some of the choices that you provide women who want the alternative?
Yeah, there are thousands of pregnancy centers all across our country. And I think a lot of women aren't very aware of the services that they provide. And like I mentioned, they offer, a lot of them offer housing, financial assistance. A lot of them offer strollers, diapers, clothing, help if you're looking for a job. They come alongside women, and they're really the hands and feet and the embodiment of the pro-life movement in actually, being the people who are helping women day to day. So they give women the actual choice. Women often choose abortion because they feel some sort of pressure. It could be pressure from a boyfriend, from a parent, or just financial pressure that they feel in this weight of, do they feel like they can take care of a child? Will they have enough money to be able to take care of themselves and a child? And these centers, they come alongside women and they offer that support so that there is a real choice there. And so our organization, we advocate for increasing support to pregnancy centers through public resources and also just awareness. On the awareness front, we have an organization called Her Plan that we're connected with that is that networks all the centers and brings them all together in a database so that more people are aware that they exist and get the help that they need.
We're talking to our guest today, Kelsey Pritchard. You can follow her on X at Kelsey_Pritch, and she's representing SBA Pro Life. Go visit them at sbaprolife.org. I want to follow up on a question earlier about the vandalism that happened in Chicago for Aid for Women. When you look at that, there was red paint that was used. And there was words saying fake clinics, the dead babies are in Gaza near the entrance. I mean, for them to use red paint and say fake clinics, if we want to run a fact check on that, what is the response to what centers like that actually do?
Yeah, I'd say for the tens of thousands of women, hundreds of thousands of women who get help from pregnancy centers all across this country every single day, who have carried through their pregnancy and been able to feel supported as they had a child. That's not fake. That's very real. And the services that they provide are very real. And they really fill a gap that no one else is filling. No one else is providing the kind of help that they do. You go into a Planned Parenthood, you go into an abortion center, they're trying to sell abortions. They have this financial motive behind what they're doing. You go into a pregnancy center, for them, it's about helping women. It's about the mission of serving women and their children. So, it's really disheartening to see all of the vandalism that has happened, including in that event close to where the DNC was held. And it's hard to watch. And I think we all need to realize that we can't resort to violence. You can't resort to vandalism. They must be losing the argument the way that vandalism has increased so much ever since the Dobbs decision dropped in 2022.
Another fact check I want to tie back around is the red paint that had, in quotes, the dead babies are in Gaza. Will it be a far stretch to say actually the dead babies are here in the United States?
Yeah, abortion is the number one killer in our country. And, we've had tens of millions of unborn children whose lives have been taken since the Roe decision by abortion. And unfortunately, the way that babies in the womb have been dehumanized, people don't see them as human beings. They see them as a clump of cells or not their own human being and that kind of thing. And the truth is that we all start out that way. We all start out in the womb. And the right to life is the most fundamental right we have. All other rights come from the right to life. And when you look at science, the way science has improved and how we know so much more now than we did back in the 70s when Roe came down about the formation of the child in the womb, we know there is a heartbeat around 6 weeks gestation. We know that, and science shows that around 15 weeks, unborn babies can feel pain. They can smile. They can suck their thumbs. We know if it's a boy or girl at that point. All of these things, there's just kind of this willful ignorance of science in the call for abortion, especially at any limit, any stage. The Democrats can't bring themselves to limit abortion when a baby feels pain, or at any point. They can't draw a line, unfortunately. So, it's an ongoing battle, and it's a culture war, that's for certain. There's a lot more work that has to be done to wake people up and educate what the science shows.
How can pro-life organizations like SBA Pro Life work to create a more safer and respectful environment for pregnancy centers in response to recent events?
Yeah, I think we're trying to bring more awareness to what pregnancy centers are, what they do. Like I said, some people don't really understand, don't even really know they exist. And so if the first time they hear about them is from Elizabeth Warren or something, they're going to get the wrong impression. So we try to bring awareness. We try to share stories of pregnancy centers and how they help women. We are advocating to the states to increase funding for these pregnancy centers so that they can continue to operate, so that they can increase their efforts and the number of people that they help every year. And we're also talking about how this is equally important as a part of the pro-life movement. The pro-life movement is about saving unborn children and serving women. They're both equally important components of our mission. It's not one or the other, it's both. And pregnancy centers, these efforts in states to pass things like pro-life safety net legislation, to add more assistance for families and mothers and women. This is a crucial part of the pro-life movement, and we have to keep taking steps forward on that.
When pro-choice organizations are saying what they say, we all know what they say. Just watch the news. It's not a stranger to anyone. Is there any way to have any kind of common ground with pro-life and pro-choice organizations? Or is that dash in between too far?
I would hope there is. And I think there is a lot of common ground for pro-life, pro-choice Americans, I should say. I don't know that we're ever going to have a lot in common with the ACLU, with Planned Parenthood, for the Center for Reproductive Progress. I don't know that we'll ever see eye to eye on anything, but I think Americans as a whole, even pro-choice Americans, do want to see some limits on abortion in the second and third trimester. Around 2/3 of Americans or more want a limit when the baby can feel pain around that 15-week mark. And so I think there's common ground there. I think there's some common ground too when we're talking about abortion coercion and abortion poisoning, which I think more and more stories are coming out about how that happens a lot, especially with abortion drugs, especially that now that the Biden administration has allowed for the mail order of those drugs. Essentially, you can get them online without ever seeing a doctor. We hear stories of abusers getting those drugs and coercing women. Some of them have poisoned women and unknowingly to take those drugs to kill their unborn children. And I think that is something we should all be able to take a stand on, and we should support passing more laws to to punish abortion coercion and abortion poisoning. I think there are a lot of areas. I also think parental rights is something the vast majority of people agree upon. I mean, if you send your child to a public school and your 13-year-old daughter needs to take Tylenol, you have to sign a bunch of forms and give your consent for that. Yet the abortion industry has been pushing for no parental consent whatsoever for minors to have an abortion. So I think the American people as a whole want parents to be able to be involved, whether you're pro-life or pro-choice. And so, I think there's a lot of common ground, a lot of ways that we can make progress together. Unfortunately, I think sometimes we become more polarized than we need to be because of our political climate, because of the inflammatory tactics and language of the abortion industry. But there is a path forward in ways we can work together and agree upon things.
It's on Refocus Radio talking to our guest today, Kelsey Pritchard. You go visit the website, SBAProlife.org, or follow her on X at Kelsey_Pritch. A lot of heat is taken on both sides, if we're just being honest. And it seems sometimes everyone takes their turn. But when it comes to the truth of pro-life, you are a woman. So in your own words, what does my body, my choice mean to you when it comes to your healthcare?
Yeah, I would say I'm a woman. I'm also a mother of 3 children. I had my first 2 babies during the Roe era. I had my baby girl a year ago under the Dobbs era. And, watching, you go in for that first appointment and the doctor asks you, do you want to hear the heartbeat? And, the ultrasounds you see throughout the process of your child forming. And, from that first 8-week appointment to when you're 20 weeks and just watching your child grow, I think that has further cemented my view on life. And, why do we celebrate the child with a heartbeat if it's a planned pregnancy versus why do we push abortion to women if they don't have a lot of money and it's unplanned? The child is a child no matter what. And the child is precious and has a purpose to fulfill that nobody else in this world can fulfill. These children go on to bless not only parents, but our communities and friends, classmates, coworkers, and they go on to make such a difference in the world that no one else can. And so I believe each human being has value and has purpose. And like I said, the right to life, that is the right that every other right comes from. It is the most precious, most important right that we all have. And so that's why I'm so passionate and so blessed to be a part of this work.
Not to be political, but the writing's on the wall that, most conservatives are pro-life. What are ways you believe could probably improve the argument with pro-lifers to kind of show the case again and again that there is more truth than to the same talking points of calling everyone extreme?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the science. I think that's part of it. The other part is probably more important, and that's the stories of women who have firsthand accounts that they're sharing. And we have been hearing a lot from women who have abortion coercion stories about abortions that they had that were unwanted because of an abusive relationship, because they were pressured by a doctor, and other situations. And I think those are the things that can really open our minds more and change hearts. We also have heard stories recently of women who had their children because they lived in a state with a pro-life law, and they would have gotten abortion had they not. There's one woman named Nisha in Georgia who is just a joy, and she tells her story of how she was about 8 weeks pregnant, I think, and had called an abortion facility to schedule an abortion. And they told her, we have a heartbeat law here. You're past that point. You can't have that abortion in Georgia. And through a friend through church, she had heard about this, about adoption options, and gotten connected to a pregnancy center. And she decided, not to order abortion pills out of state. She decided not to travel out of state to have an abortion. And instead, she chose adoption. And today she says she is so glad that Georgia's heartbeat law was in effect, because she had her son and she placed her son with a wonderful couple. And now he's alive. He is, she has an open adoption with him. And it's just been such a blessing to her life, she says, and it's such a joy. And she's so glad that law was in place. So I think those stories, seeing the pictures of those children who literally would not be alive if it were not for some pro-life protection or for some pregnancy center who came alongside them, I think that changes hearts and minds. And we're so blessed to have those children among us.
There are Americans, my last question is, there are Americans who find themselves in the middle. They find themselves neutral. What will your message be for those who they kind of are tired of, pick this side, pick that side, and they just want to basically get things done? What will you say to those who are looking at the bigger picture? How can we find more common ground? I know it's kind of repetitive from the earlier question, but what's your thought on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I get that. And I get sick of the politics too sometimes. And it's, it's tempting to just want to disengage and, watch Netflix instead of the news. I totally get that. I think we all have to realize how much is at stake at this point in our history, and especially what is at stake specifically in November. Lives are literally on the line in this election, and abortion, it's really, when you look at it, it's not a political issue. It's a moral issue. It's an issue of right and wrong. And if we have Democrat majorities in the House and Senate, if we have Kamala Wall's presidency, essentially what they have promised to pass is the WHPA, which would ban all states from having pro-life laws. It would mandate all trimester abortion in every single state across this country, and more lives will be lost. More late-term abortions will happen in this country. We will become as extreme as China, which allows all trimester abortions, and only 8 countries in the world allow that. That's what we would have in every single state. And that's not only bad for the unborn children who won't ever be able to have a day of their life, it's also bad for the women. We know the mental health implications of abortion, and there can be physical complications too, especially with abortion drugs that can pose risks to women and cause hemorrhaging and the need for emergency surgery. In some rare cases, abortion drugs have even caused death. So we need to be thinking about what this means for our country long-term and the difference that our vote could make this November, and just being willing to engage, to show up to vote, and to be educated on this issue it's so crucial. It's so crucial for our nation. It's so crucial for the future generations.
And this on Refocus Radio talking to our guest, Kelsey Pritchard. Go to the website, SBAProLife.org, or you can follow her on X at Kelsey_Pritch. Like always, I want to say thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. God bless.